guess 4 people that felt that way. Okay, and some people might be saying, oh, gee, I just won't come to class, I'll do that. And certainly I won't mark off on attendance, but I think that you will benefit more from being here than not. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, so we did that. And now what we're going to do is I'm going to go around, and I guess this does end up, just because I'm calling on people, you know, I'll figure out who's here and who's not and things like that. That way I don't mark off for lack of attendance and things like that. But let's see. Okay, so Amara, I do see you there, and I want to check in with you and just test, do you have audio? And I'm going to ask Amara, and you might have a bunch of questions, but I'm only going to ask you about one. But the first thing, Amara, is I guess I'm asking you, I'm only going to give you an opportunity to do one question now, and then we'll go around to the other, you know, to the other students and things like that. But first of all, Amara, how are you and the people in your circle? You guys doing okay?
Yes, we're doing very well.
Okay, that's okay. So that's a question I really do like to ask, and I plan to ask that really of everybody. And you don't have to share private things like, oh, my dog is sick or something, but I do care. But I do care. Okay. All right. But do you have a question about the course? And I'm not going to say you only can have one question, but after I hear a question from you, I'm going to go on to somebody else, you know, after we address the question. So please go ahead. And by the way, it's not surprising if some people do have a question, because this is a different mode of learning. It's challenging in its own way, but also it can be very effective, okay? And I know that because I've done that. So anyway, so Amara, do you have questions that you'd like to pose? And it could be anything, and I'll just limit you to one right now, but what's a question that you might have?
Yeah, I had a quick question on the textbook. I think in the last class you said we didn't need it to succeed. Were you talking about the worksheet book or the actual textbook?
I was talking about actually either one of them, okay? I mean, here's the thing I'm saying, and by the way, everybody is different. So, and Amara, I don't, you know, like really know you, and there will be a limit to how well I will get to know you in this class. But you might be someone who says, darn it, I really benefit from having a book, so I want to have a book. Then you should by all means, you know, get a book and read it, and or you could rent the book, or I actually give very good notes in this class. And so what you can do is you can get by and you can be successful without it, because I'm never going to say, oh, you know, you have to do, these problems from the book and things like that. I do want you to understand the concepts and things like that, but you don't have to buy the book for this class. There is a recommended textbook. And when I say recommended, that's recommended by the math department. So they say, anybody who's teaching this course, if you're using a textbook, use this one. So that's the one I pointed you to, but you don't have to buy it, but you are welcome to buy it. And, you know, I mean, and depending on your learning situation and your economics, I'd encourage you to buy it. But I'm going to be doing video lectures. And the video lectures are going to be concise, but they're, I think they're also complete. Okay, so Amara, was that question answered to your satisfaction for now?
Yeah.
Great. Now moving on, that doesn't mean you never get another question, but I really want to deal with questions that some people might have, because there's a lot of things there's a lot of things that that kind of are here. Okay, let's see. Atlantis, I see you, and you're actually next to my. Oh wait. Yeah, Atlantis, you're next in my list here, and I don't really know where Amara went, but anyway. So anyway, I'm to you. Okay, so is it? And that's good. I just don't see you on the screen, and don't worry about that. I don't have to see you, okay? And I'm not taking attendance that way. So, okay, that's good. So, yeah, she's still here. I'm going to jump to Atlantis, who I also saw here, And actually, maybe I won't do that. Maybe I'll do things just in the alphabetical order I have. So forget Atlantis, I'm not calling on you yet. And so I'm going to call on Martina. So Martina, how are you doing?
Can you hear me or not really?
Okay, and this thing got screwed up, so hold on. I need to go back to my. Can you hear me still?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me. All right. Now I
Yeah.
went off the screen, and I've got to figure out how to get back there, and maybe this will get me back there. But you can hear me anyway. So okay, so I'm asking Martina then. So how are people in your circle? You guys doing okay?
Yes. I don't know if you
Okay,
can hear me.
I can hear you, and it's
Okay.
fine. So that's a good thing that I can hear you, and that's good. And I'm getting all kinds of New York Times things that are coming up on my screen. But now I'm going to ask you: do you have a question about the class?
No, I think so far I'm doing pretty good.
Okay, so she's saying she doesn't have a question. And since you kind of claimed you didn't have a question, that doesn't mean you can never ask a question, but that does mean I won't be back to you, in this circle of asking questions unless you insert your stuff. Okay, the next
Okay.
person on my list is Jaleesa. So
Hello?
Jaleesa, yeah, that's good. It's good to hear you. And how are people in your circle? You guys doing okay? Hanging in there?
Yes, doing good.
All right, so that is all good. Do you have a question for us in this class that we should discuss right now?
Um, so when I bought the textbook, it also came with a math lab code. Do we need that?
No, you don't. And what
Okay.
I would say is, I mean, I'm not making you have that. Now,
Right.
some students say, hey, I really like to do that, and can you create a course? And I create a course. I'm also going to tell you that usually when a student says that, they often don't follow through and actually use it. But that's not a course requirement, okay?
Okay.
So what you can do is you can take that back and get a refund, at least if you haven't opened it or whatever, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm trying to be cheap with what I'm requiring students to buy in this course, okay? I am going to ask you to invest some serious sweat equity because you are going to be doing work and things like that.
Right.
Okay, David, are you were out there? Yes, you're still out there?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay, good. And how are people in your circle? You guys hanging in there?
Yeah, everybody's doing pretty well.
Okay, that is good to hear. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you if you have some questions that perhaps haven't been asked yet.
Yeah, I don't really have any too many questions. I think I'm doing pretty well.
All right, your questions are always welcome, but the reason I want to do this at this time is we're just getting started. And like, for example, I was really disappointed that you guys were not able to hear the audio on the videos that I was showing you, but so but that's okay because I can just assign you to watch the videos and that's fine, and we can do other things in the course. So that is all good. So David, I'm going on, and David, I'm counting you as not having any questions. So that means when I cycle back, I'm going to skip over you, and that doesn't mean other people can't ask questions or you can't jump in, but I'm just saying, yeah, he's pretty good. Okay, Sydney, you're out there, I think. Yes. And Sydney maybe is sending me comments or something like that instead of being here with voice. And what happened is I got, there we are. Okay, now I am back. And I'm going to go over to the comments and I'm going to go see. Martina has her hand up. And I didn't, oh, let's see. So someone said, actually, I do have a question, and maybe that's Martina's. I don't know. So Martina, what's
Yeah.
your question? And I'll just go there.
Um, I don't know if I missed it, but is there any like group chat like with the students or anything?
You can always use, um, wait, did you say chat?
Yeah, like is there any
Oh yeah, there's a
like
chat
group
thing.
me or anything like a
Well, I
Discord
think what you're
or
talking,
anything?
we could set up a Discord server, and in fact, are you good at such things?
Yeah, I guess group me or I don't know. I kind of don't really care. But I mean, I've noticed that group chats helped me, so
Well, okay, so
I
first
don't
of
know
all,
if
I am going to
anybody else
tell
is
you,
down.
okay, I'm going to tell you two things, okay? Number one, and this is, and it's okay because you guys are young, but Blackboard, this Ultra Collaborate, this room is always open. So suppose that you and David wanted to go here and work together, you could do that. But I also understand that young students probably think, yeah, but that's what my grandfather did. I don't do that. I do Discord. And so, Martina, if you are good at Discord and want to set up a Discord server, I will let you share the information with your classmates and we can have that. Now, if you are not good at that, then we could I could get a Discord server set up, and it's really up to you if you find that useful or not. In my discrete math course, one of the other courses I am teaching, and those students tend to be computer science people, they set up a Discord thing. Okay, so I think you're saying you want, well, first of all, I know it's not the same thing, but you can chat with one another using the chat function here in Blackboard Ultra. So that's there. If you guys want to share things, I'd almost suggest that if you really want to do this, what we would do is we would just set up a Discord server. I'm going to tell you that I'm not always going to be on the Discord server myself, but you guys can do that if that's what you want to do. And it sounds like, let's do another one of those polls just to see what's going. So I'm going to share a poll. And it's going to be a multiple choice poll again. Actually, it really was a yes or no poll. So I'm going to cancel that and I'm going to share the poll again. I'm going to do a yes or no poll. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And the question is not, are you okay with not recording? But the question is, let's see. Do you want a Discord server? So I'm putting this out here. I was trying to share that. That should have shared. It didn't. Oh, here it is. Wait, that's viewing the poll. Okay, do you want to, all right, so you guys have, you have it there now, right? Do you want a Discord server? And so you should be responding. Only one person has responded that they want it. You guys see this to respond to, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't see it.
There's a little thing at the bottom that shows the poll. A little
It's
button
along,
next to,
sorry.
yeah, go ahead, David.
It's along the same buttons with like sharing audio and sharing video and like, raising hands and all that. You should have like a view poll option the same way.
and you guys are voting. Okay, so it sounds like 3 of you, maybe 4 of you, want to have a Discord server. So that's okay. I can set up such a thing, or I guess I'm going to ask: are any of you computer sciencey enough that you like to do that kind of thing? A guy in my discrete math class actually wanted to do it himself. So are any of you wanting to set this up? Okay, but you all want it. So I guess that means that I'm making a note here, and so I will, in between other things, try to set up a Discord server. You do, in the interim, though, have this, you can always go to Blackboard and use Ultra Collaborate until we get a Discord server, okay? All right, so that is, I guess that's okay with that. And let's see, that was Martina who asked that question. David had no question. Now, Sydney, I was trying to ask you, first of all, how are you? Yeah, I mean, oh, well, okay, Martina is now volunteering to try to set that up. So Martina, we'll have progress reports from you, okay? And you can always email people using just the Blackboard function, so you can send emails to the COD things that way. So you can maybe give us progress reports on that. Okay, now I keep calling on Sydney, and I haven't heard from her yet. And apparently there's only 5 of you here, so Sydney is taking the day off, I guess. I will check in with her just to find out what's going on with her. And let's see. So, okay, so Martina sent you a thing in the chat box, and so I guess that's established already. Yeah, well, we'll find out. Okay, Atlantis, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. Yesterday, Monday, when we first started class, I didn't know how to download the 365. I got it together now. Was we supposed to do any additional work? I'm in class. I'm sorry, my daughter. Was we supposed to do any additional work that day? Because I didn't see anything after downloading the 365.
Well, on the announcements, okay, there's a thing, and I think I'm going to, I was going to share my screen with you, but in the announcements, I ask you to do a bunch of things, and this is the way I will communicate with you often. I will post an announcement, but at the same time, I will send it to your COD email, okay? And so, I sent things to your COD email, and I also posted it in the announcements. So it's really in 2 places, and that's what I was asking you. Okay, so people are struggling with making the Discord thing work. Okay, so and why don't we let that be something you work on outside of class, trying to make that work, and we'll see. I know I can make it work, but we'll just check. I mean, I'm going to suggest that we focus on the things. So, and I guess I am going to ask, and maybe this will be another poll, just because the polls maybe work. So I'm going to do another poll, and the new poll is going to be here, and this is going to be a yes or no poll again, and it's not going to be, do you want a Discord server? But what I am going to ask is, did you get the email on the announcements of the things I ask you to do? Now, if you didn't check your COD email, you might not, be able to answer that, but this is the question. Okay, so we're responding again here. Did you get the email and the announcements? And Atlantis, I'm thinking that you were telling me that you didn't, but anyway, I'm letting people respond here. We're just seeing what happened. So the answer is going to be yes or no.
Professor Jim, I got a question for you. Is it the one which you're saying follow the videos?
Yeah.
I did get that, but I was just trying to see was we supposed to do some actual physical work.
Well, there's physical work to do too. Now, it's not due today, but it's due pretty soon, because I also told you in those videos or in those announcements that there was a thing called a low stakes assessment.
I'm looking.
And yeah, so it is there, and that's something specifically I'm asking you to do. But also, I expect you to watch those videos, as serious learners, because those are lectures that are delivering content, and you're doing that instead of reading a book, but you want to do that carefully. Okay, so there's 5 of you, and 2 people aren't responding, and so I don't know if that means they're getting a drink or whatever. But please understand that that's a primary way I'm going to communicate with you is through that. And the other thing, Atlantis, is I'm going to be leaving these things out there. I'm never going to delete them. And so you see, I basically have a journal of what happens. So for example, suppose you say, oh, I would like to go to Jim's morning office hours, but I don't remember when they are. Well, I sent you an announcement with those links on there. And so what you can do is you can say, oh, I know it's in the announcements. You can go there and you can find it there. So I hope maybe that's clear. And please do these announcements. I think I'm just going to throw it open and ask if there's other questions. And we are going to do some work in a bit, but let's talk about questions first.
I do have a quick question, actually.
Go ahead, David.
So I'm looking on the like the Blackboard site, right? And I know that there's that low stakes like assessment, and I've seen that on the like the PDF, like upload, like to like turn it in. But where do we actually like I know I've seen it before, but I don't know like where do I go to actually see what that low stakes assignment actually is?
All right, the low stakes assessment is in the Blackboard shell, and it's in the syllabus tab. And the reason I put things in the syllabus tab is I just put almost everything in the syllabus tab that I want you to be looking at, okay? And so you should be able, David, to go to the syllabus tab, and you should find LSA probably 1, low stakes assessment 1. And in fact, David, if you're doing that, can you open it and read it for me? And again, I'm not trying to force you. I just want to do that because that might be useful, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm looking on the syllabus right now, and all I see is like the syllabus, copy of test 1 and test 2 data, and then bears. I don't see like an LSA 1, or maybe bears is that one.
I thought I posted it there. That was certainly my intent. And so I can't say I will do that during the break, but I can certainly do that immediately after class. But I really intended to post that there. And I am going to, I'm checking just one thing here. And it doesn't look like that's going to be an especially good thing to check. Well, maybe it will be. Let me, I'm going to share my screen with you. Bear with me, guys. All right, so I'm sharing my screen with you, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, so I am sharing my screen, and in a moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to open PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm opening PowerPoint. And here I'm opening the PowerPoint. And so now this is a presentation I'm giving somewhere else, but I'm going to look through here and see if I put the LSA for 1220 here. And it's not showing up there. So I am going to post it. I will post it in the syllabus tab, and that's where I should have put it.
Okay. Then we'll just like keep an eye out for it then. And
yeah, and in fact, I think given what you said, I will announce it when I've put it there. That means you'll get an email, and I'll put it in the announcement and say, hey, it's there now, okay? So I will have it there. Now I think it was in one of those videos that I asked you to watch as well, but I'm going to go and make sure that it's put there as a physical copy, okay?
okay,
All
sounds
right.
good. Yeah, like I was saying, I knew I'd seen it somewhere, but I was looking through the pages and just wasn't able to find it.
Okay, well, it should have been there. My intent was to have it there, and sometimes I'm juggling a bunch of things. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen just for a moment. Okay. All right. Anything else out there? And I know we're spending a lot of time on this, but I think it can be worth it. So any other questions? Okay. I guess I'm going to, now that doesn't mean you can't ask questions, but that just means that we're not doing questions now. Now, what I remember doing here last time was we did talk about doing stem plots. And stem plots is something I expect you to know. And I'm thinking that that's probably pretty much all we did last time in terms of work with the stem plots. But now I'm going to move on, and I am going to talk about histograms. Okay? So now what I'm going to do is, and you guys, here's really the very, or in fact, I know another poll I'm going to do. So how many of you have XL 365? So I'm going to poll here, and this is just going to be a yes or no poll. And this is going to be, do you have 365? And the reason I'm saying that is that you certainly you want to have it. And you might say, well, I thought you wanted us to be on the cheap here, not making us buy things. Well, you don't have to buy this, you get it for free. So I am updating the poll, and the poll says, do you have access to 365? Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you, you want to have access to 365 for a couple of reasons. Number one, if you have an old version of Excel, it might not have all the functionality that I'm going to use, and I'm going to try to always use 365 when I'm talking about things. Now, the best thing for you to do when I'm doing something, and when I teach this in a classroom, this is how it is. You all have a workstation in front of you, and I do something on the screen, and then I say, now you guys try it, and I see that you get it. Now here it's a little bit more complicated. You guys are on workstations, but you're watching what we're doing here. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, you can explore this anyway, but if you open another tab, you should be able to do 365 in another tab and bounce back and forth. If you don't end up doing that, make sure you realize that I'm going to expect you to be able to do the things that we're doing in 365, and so on a test I might actually ask you to do that. But now we're going to talk about histograms, okay? And so histograms then is what we're going to do is we're going to talk about histograms, and we're going to talk about histograms with the bears. Now, and I'm just going to throw this out there. Somebody can volunteer to answer, and if nobody answers, I guess I'll answer it myself. When would you use a stem plot, and when would you use a histogram? Yes, David.
You'd probably use a stem plot if you've got like a bunch of data, like a smaller amount of data, and you'd use a histogram. Maybe if you've got like, you know, like 1,000 data sets or something like that, you might want to
Right,
use that instead.
and you're exactly right. Thank you, David. And I am going to just lower your hand, but thank you for volunteering. Okay, you lowered your hand yourself. Okay, that's good. Yes, you use a histogram for more data. And in fact, in the video you watched, the character in the video, he's a real guy called Raul Lopez, used the histogram to record 750,000 lightning strikes. So you see, that's a whole bunch of data, and that's why using a histogram made sense. So that is that's one reason you would use a histogram. And so let's make a histogram. Now, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to share my screen with you. Let's see, so I want to share screen with you. And so I will share the screen. And I'm going to search my computer for the file bears. Now you have bears in your, and it shows me the Chicago Bears, so I don't want that. I'm looking for a bears XL file. And it's just giving me the Chicago Bears. So I'm going to have to go to Blackboard and get that. Now I am sharing the file with you in Google. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in, I'm going to go to Blackboard again. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Great, okay. Now I'm going to Blackboard again, and I'm going to Blackboard in another, I'm going to call up this file, and you should be able to see this file. So I'm going to Blackboard, and I'll have to log in because I'm going into another browser. I guess I'm still logged in. This is good. You should be able to see Blackboard. I'm going down here to our course, which is here. So this is quantitative literacy. And I'm going to go over to the syllabus tab, and bears is going to be there. So I am opening up the file called bears. And it's open down here. Now, one of the issues is that on my computer, it's still scanning this for viruses, I have more than one file, or I have more than one copy of Excel. So what I'm going to do here is, this is going to be a copy of bears, and I'm going to open it here. And so you should see it, and that's not bears, but you'll see bears soon. That's something else I was working on. Okay, that should have opened bears. Maybe it is now. Bear with me, please. Okay, now we have bears here, and this is a data file. And the thing that I am telling you is that often I will give you data files to work with. And what we want to do is we want to make a histogram of this. Now, there's a bunch of charts over here, but we're going to do the histogram, and we're going to do the histogram for bears, and we're going to do it for the weight of the bears. But first thing I need to do is I'm going to copy this, because I want to be doing this in 365, not this, because you see it has changed. 365 has changed since the one I have here. So I'm copying this data. So I am copying it, and I'm going to paste it. So I'm going to open another Excel file, and this is going to be Excel 365. Now, if the only thing you have is 365, then that'll be, and of course I typed it wrong. Let me try it again here. Okay, so what I really wanted to do was access. I just got a thing where they were asking me, did I want to teach on campus again? And I said, I definitely want to teach on campus again. Okay, so this is going to be, and this is the Excel app, and I think this is 365. We'll check and see. So I'm opening another file, but I'm going to paste that into there. So this is Excel 365, and now I'm going to paste that here. Now, the reason I'm saying all this is on a test, I might actually give you this kind of a problem, and I was trying to open that, and it's not opening. Okay, and it looks like it will let me open copy of bears in that app, so that's good. So we'll just do it there. And we're going to make a histogram. So I'm showing you how to make a histogram with this. So let me go look and see if it's here, maybe somewhere. Okay, so I think it's here. Okay, so we're going to try to make a histogram, and we're going to look at these charts. And let me just check to see. Now, those are just column charts. So you see, I do have to, and I'm sorry I have to do this, but there's a lot of things I'm juggling. So I'm making a column of this, I'm making a copy of this, and I'm going to copy it here. So I'm going to copy it, and that being copied. And now I'm going to go to Excel 365, which is this one. All right, so I'm opening a new file, and now I am going to paste that data here. And I'm going to paste it exactly this way, and I'm pasting it as numbers. So that's what we have. Now we have this in 365. Now the reason that I moved to 365 is because we're going to do a histogram of the weights. And so what we're going to do is we're going to insert, and I'm going to be inserting a chart. So we're going to go over here, and you see this looks different than the other Excel. So you should be seeing this, and this is the thing that's the histogram. And so what you can do is you can go up there, and it says Insert Statistics Chart. So we're going to click on this, and you see what I get is I get a number of charts that I can have. I can have a histogram, I can have a Pareto chart, or I can have a box and whisker diagram. So we're going to do the histogram. So I'm going to use that in just a minute. But we're going to make a histogram of what data. And so the data I'm going to use is I'm going to highlight this data. And now we're going to insert a chart. And you see the charts come up over here. I go here, this is histogram. And I get this. And so you see here is a histogram of the weight of the bears. Now, what Excel did is it picked the boundaries and things like that, but we can see that there is a histogram here. And so you see you've got these boxes and things like that. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I'm going to ask for somebody to volunteer to answer. If I don't get any answer, and just I'm going to be really shouting it out, but is this skewed or symmetric, this data?
It looks skewed.
And that's a correct answer. Tell everybody how you knew this was skewed.
Because some of the bars are bigger than the other bars.
I'm going to answer it in a little different way, okay? And I think maybe you can see my cursor. I hope you can here. If you can't, this histogram has a tail, and the tail is going out to the right. Okay, so if the histogram has a tail, then it is skewed. And the way we say this is skewed to the right, it's the direction of the tail, or this is skewed in a positive fashion. So this is something that is definitely is a skewed histogram. That's how you would make a histogram. Now you can do a bunch of fancy things with these things. You can label the the axes, things like that. You can come up with a label for the chart. And I'm just going to do something up here. I'm going to call the chart title to be, and maybe I need to do that again. Let's go up here again. Let's do chart title. I'm putting it back. And I'm going to call this bears weights. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is skewed. It's skewed right. That's weight of bears. And another thing I'm going to show you how to do is to make a copy of this. Okay. So what you would do is you would click on this. You would say copy. And the reason I'm saying this is now you can go to a Word document. This is a document I was working on earlier, but I've already used that. So I can go here and I can just paste it here. I did Control V. I know you couldn't see it, but you see I paste the weight of the bears there. Now the reason I'm showing you this is there might come a test that you're taking sometime in this class, and one of the problems might ask you to make a histogram. Well, you will have access to Excel, and so you're going to be, and I don't know if somebody's asking a question or not. I'll ask for a question in a moment and see if someone is. So what happens is I might ask you to make a histogram, but then you say, well, how do I submit it? Well, you use Excel to make the histogram, and then you paste it into a Word doc. And then what you can do is you can take a picture of this with your cell phone, and you can upload it that way. So you see you can do this, and I want you to understand how to do a histogram and why you might do a histogram. Let me go back and see. I guess I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. So I'm stopped sharing for a moment, and that means I have to go back to that was supposed to stop sharing. So can you hear me still?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I just have to find you because I have so many browsers here. Okay, so you can still hear me. I'm just going to pose a question. And the question for it is, and I know I'm not sharing anymore, so I ought to be able to find this somewhere, but let's see, maybe there's a tab here. I guess I have to go into Blackboard because I got that data from Blackboard, so maybe I have to. Okay, I'm just going to ask the question. I think somebody might have had a question out there. I'll see if they do. Is any data lost? And I don't want David to answer this question. I mean, I think I can. But the question is, was any data lost when we made this histogram?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Why was data lost? Well, on the previous chart, how many, on the Excel spreadsheet, how many bears did we have? 50 some, right?
Yeah.
And we knew each one of those bears. I don't know what file I was using, but in some files, it even has the bears' names there. Okay. So anyway, the bears, I mean, they could have names. They certainly have weights. And you see, if I made a stem plot of those bears' weights, I would have each and every bear there. But here I don't, because this is summarized, because I know that I have on the order of 21 bears that are between 26 pounds and 136 pounds, but they all could be 135, and I don't know that from this spreadsheet. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So some data is lost. So there's something lost and something gained here. So I'm going back to Blackboard. I have to log in again so I can be there with you guys, because this interface is kind of hosed up for me. So I am going to Blackboard, and I'm going to be entering your space again. I have to log on. I'm logging in now. I think I'm using Chrome. I should remember that. This is going to be 4P18. This is going to be okay, and now I log in. And I'm going to get back into, and I'm going to our course, which is Quantitative Literacy, and I'm logging back in. I'm going to Collaborate Ultra. Okay, so I'm going into the space again. I'm joining your room again, and I'll be there again. It says you've already joined this session, but okay, maybe I'm here. Maybe I can go into this one to see. All right, it says I'm joined somewhere else, but it's not showing me where that window is for me to be there. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to have to do some, let me try this tab and see if there's something here. None of these tabs have Blackboard Collaborate on it. So I'm probably going to have to shut this down and shut everything down and rejoin you. But I want to ask, are there any questions? Because I expect you to be able to do stem plots, and I expect you to be able to do histograms. Any questions? And now just shout out, because I can't see you.
I do have a question.
Go ahead, please.
So I'm looking at Excel. So I downloaded Microsoft Office through the website, and it looks different from what you were sharing, and I can't find the tab or wherever drop down that you make the histogram graph with. So I'm a little bit confused on how I would do that because I was trying to follow along with you.
Well, and it was good that you were trying to follow along. You've got to open Excel in 365, and that's why, and I don't know if this is Martina, I don't know who I'm talking to right
It's
now, but
Amara.
oh, okay, all right. So anyway, that's the reason it's important you're there, so it looks like it. So it should look exactly like what I showed you. Okay. And that was the reason I have more than one copy of Excel on my machine, and that's the way I was trying to be careful. So you do have to be careful to be opening that. And I don't know, Amara, but it might be possible on your machine that you have multiple versions of Excel also. And so make sure that you're opening Excel 365 to do that, and then that button will be there where I showed you. Okay.
Is that through Microsoft Office or do I have to log in from the website?
It's a cloud thing.
Okay.
All right. But you have to, and by the way, it's free for you as a COD student, but you have to do that. And what I'm showing you is for it to look like what I'm showing you, it is, that's 365 that looks like that. And I teach a lot of statistics courses and things like that. And what I've observed in many of the courses that I teach is that that what we do is we have to have that there because things get moved around with different versions of Excel. Okay, so and by the way, if you want to talk about that, some more along the way or something like that, what we can do is, you can come to my office hours or something. But my guess is you'll probably figure it out yourself. Now, we're going to, and I'm not saying that we're taking a break, but in order to see you and share my screen again, I'm going to be shutting down these browsers and I'm going to be logging back in. So I'm going to say I'm closing all the windows in both Chrome and in Edge. So I'm not going to be there for a while because I have to log back in, but then we're going to move on. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about measures of center. So stay focused. But what I would say is if you want to is try to get Microsoft 365 so you can practice some things, and we'll start talking about measures of center very soon. So I'm closing a bunch of windows. Okay, I am back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about measures of center. And there are 3 measures of center that we are going to have. And so what we want to do then is we want to open up the Excel file, and I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to be opening up files. And I'm sharing my screen. And I'm going to be opening up the Excel file that we did last time. And the Excel file that we did last time was called copy of test 1 and test 2. So I'm going up here and I'm opening that data set. So very soon you will see that data set. Okay, so this is test 1 and test 2. And we already did spreadsheets with this, but this is the raw data set. And okay, so Atlanta, she's still out there. I'm just checking to make sure I got connectivity. You can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Good. Okay. All right. So I'm taking that. Good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to find the measure of center. Now before, and we could do 2 different things. We could do histograms and we could do stem plots, but now we're going to find the measure of center. So one measure of center, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. So one measure of center, and by the way, you did study this in the video. So I'm not really lecturing on it so much, but I am going to say that this is going to be one measure of center is the mean. Now, the mean is also known as the arithmetic average. Okay, now I'm going to show you 2 ways to calculate this. So we're going to calculate the mean for test 1. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, and here's how you find the average. If you were trying to find the average age of the students on this Zoom call, you would interview them and you'd find out their ages, then you would add their ages and you're going to divide by how many students are here. That's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use it doing Excel. So I am teaching you some Excel. In some of my classes, students get all upset and says, oh, I have to take an Excel course and things like that. I'm showing you how to do everything I'm going to ask you to do. I'm showing you. So you don't have to take an Excel course. Now, some of you might know a lot about Excel. Some of you might not know as much, but you're going to learn things. So we're going to find the mean for test 1. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to type here mean in this cell. Now, the reason I typed mean there was just so I know what this number is. But now I'm going to find the mean for test 1, and I'm going to put it in this cell. So I need to have
Oh, hello. Was that on my side or?
No, he's
adding.
gone.
No,
I'm sorry.
we didn't hear you. You went out.
Okay, but now I'm okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit, and I don't know if I'm going back to the right place or not, but we'll figure that out. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go back and just say a few things then. All right, so one thing that I said was that when I typed mean down here in the cell that is called C29, I was just doing that so I could keep track of what the heck is this number. And it is useful for you to annotate your spreadsheet like this. So typing that mean there, that's a good thing. And I say, oh, this number is going to be the mean. But then I'm using a function. And whenever I'm typing an Excel function, you always have to type equal. That's how Excel knows it's a function. So in this cell, this is going to be equal to the sum. And then this is just like in math, you studied y equals f of x. Well, this is going to be the sum of something. And so of, in the f of x, the x went in between the parentheses, and in the sum of, it goes inside the parentheses too. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the cursor inside the parentheses, and I'm going to drag and drop. So I drag it down because those are the numbers I want to add up, and I'm going to hit, so I've done that, and I'm going to hit return, or I could hit the check mark up here. And you see I added up all those scores from test 1, and I got 1887. But the average I have to divide by how many test scores there are. And I'm going to ask some of the students in the class, so how many are there? Somebody shouted out.
25.
There are 25. Now, there are ways you can do that, but you have to be a little bit careful because you see this, and you might say, well, yeah, but that was in cell 27. That was in cell 27, but we didn't start at 1, so you have to think about that. There is 25, but now you see I've changed my formula, and then I will hit return, and I find out that the mean, the average score for test 1 was 75.48, okay? Now, we're going to do the same thing for test 2. This is about the mean. So I defined the mean up here. It's defined in your video too. But then I did it for test 1, but now we're going to do it for test 2. And I'm putting it in the same row so I can use the same mean there. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to type equal again. This is going to be sum. And I will do that. And this time, though, I'm going to be adding up test 2. And actually, I didn't get the first one, so I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go down here to this again. And you see that started at 4. It should have started at 3. So I'm changing that to be F3. I just didn't drag and drop properly. So you see now I've got it. And this time there are 26 people. Now, don't ask me to explain what happened here. Maybe there was 2 people who didn't show up to take the first test or something. I don't know. But anyway, we have that. And so the average is here. Now, I don't know if you remember from last time or not, but last time we agreed that what happened is that the measure of center, or last time we said that people did better on test 1 than they did on test 2. And we could tell that by looking at the distribution of the stem plot. Now what's happening is we're finding the measure of center, and we're finding the mean, and this is how you would find the mean of a bunch of data. Now, I've taught you a couple of things here. I've taught you how to add up things in Excel. I've taught you what the mean is, and the mean is the average, and so we have, that is our, that's our measure of center, that is the mean. Are we okay with this? And I am going to ask you guys maybe just to give me feedback because I'm not looking at you right now and things. So we doing okay? Yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And by the way, it's okay for the answer to be no, but then if you say, no, I don't understand, then, you know, we have some more discussion, and that's okay. All right. So that's how you find the mean. Now, another measure of center, I'm going to put it up here, is called the median. And you see, I could give you a data set and I could ask you to find the mean and ask you to find the median. All right. So we're going to be doing this now. And the median is the middle value. The median is exactly the middle value. So we're going to find the median for test 1 and test 2. But the first step, and if you watch the video, and by the way, I would encourage you when you watch those videos to watch them with pencil and paper in hand, make note of the formulas, pause them, watch them as an active learner, because that's where some of your good notes are going to be. And I'm talking about this very quickly because I'm actually assuming that you did watch those videos. But the median is exactly the middle value. So the first thing we need to do is, to find the median, we need to sort. Now realize we did not have to sort to find the mean, but to find the median, we have to sort these. And I'm going to sort these from highest to lowest. I taught you how to do that last time, but we're reviewing it today. So we're going to be sorting that data to start with. And the way you sort is you go over to this icon, and we pull it down, and you and I are doing a custom sort. There's fancy things you can do. We're not trying to do the fancy things. And what we can do then is we can sort, and you see we're sorting by test 1. We're sorting on cell value, and we can do all kinds of different things here. I am going to do largest to smallest, just to do something different. So I'm going to do largest to smallest. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. And you see now what it has done. It has sorted the data from largest down to smallest. But now we're going to do, so the first step was you sort the data. And again, these are things I'm going to ask you to do probably in assessments and things like that. So after you sort the data, so I'm just going to make notes. So sort data first. I'm not making full notes here because my notes are in those videos and stuff, but this is finding the median. So this is the directions for getting the median, and that's the middle value. So sort data first, and then you find the middle value. Now we use an equation that is called parentheses n plus 1 over 2. Okay, now that means that we're going to be calculating n plus 1 over 2. And those parentheses really matter because Excel does exactly what you tell it to do as a calculation. So you see, putting those parentheses there means you're doing the numerator first, then you're dividing the whole thing by 2. If I wrote n plus 1 slash 2, it would take n and it would add 1/2 to n. So you see, parentheses matter and math matters. Okay, now n is the number of data points. And already what we know is that, I think David told us, someone told us that there were 25 data points. So this is going to be equal, and then this is parentheses, and this is going to be 25, because that's how many data points we have, plus 1, and we're going to put the parentheses in, and we're going to divide that by 2. And we get 13, because 25 plus 1 is 26, divided by 2 is 13. That means after I sort it, this is the 13th data point. You see, it's not talking about the values, it's talking about it's the 13th data point. So you see, I can count 13 data points from either end, and that's going to be the median. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And that's the median. I'm going to color that yellow, just so we know. And in fact, that is the median. So that's how we find the middle value. That's how we find the median, is we do this. But now we're going to do this for test 2. And by the way, here, what we're going to see is that the median is more than the mean, and that means that this is skewed to the left. because there's more high scores than there are low scores. You may remember that. So so there is a relationship. The median is not the same thing as the mean, but it does measure something that's in the middle. Now we're going to find the median for test 2. Okay, so here we go, test 2. This is going to be, I'm about ready to pause and ask you if you got questions, but we're not there yet. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this n plus 1 over 2. But remember that there were 26 here. So I'm going to say, what data point do I do? So this is equal to, and this is going to be parentheses, and this is going to be 26 plus 1, close of parentheses, slash 2. Now this time you get 13 and a half. So what this means is it is going to be midway between the 13th and 14th data point. Okay, so this is midway between the two. And again, I don't have these in order yet, do I? So my first step is I have to sort these. I'm going to sort them the same way as I did before. So I'm sorting, let's see, I'm doing a custom sort. I know I could do that faster, but I'm just doing it this way. So you get that, and that did not work. That went, I don't know what that did. We're going to do that again because that didn't work. So we're doing a custom sort. We're sorting, oh, that's the problem. We should have been doing sorting on test 2, and I didn't put that up good enough. So here's what we're doing. We're doing test 2, and we're going to sort on test 2. We'll do a test custom sort. Now we are sorting on test 2, cell values, and we're doing largest to smallest. So this is exactly as we said before. Okay, and now we know that it's halfway between, it's 13 and a half, so it's between 13 and 14. So here we go. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. So the median of this is going to be 54.5. Again, I'm coloring medians yellow. Now notice that for test 1, the median was one of the data points, and for test 2, the median was not one of the data points. And that's going to matter whenever we start doing quartiles and 5-number summary kinds of things. So I'm going to pause now and just throw it open, and I'm going to ask you to shout out. I don't want to stop sharing and going back and looking at you. So just, shout out if you have a question, and we'll go there. But again, this is something you need to be able to find the mean and the median. Okay, I'm just going to call on somebody to see that you're still out there. Amara, you still out there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just writing down some notes.
Okay. Well, but and by the way, taking notes is good. And I was not trying to pick on you. It's just there's not many people out there, and I want to make sure you haven't lost my audio. All kinds of crap happens in this this stuff. But we will get by. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so this is fine. Okay. All right. So you guys can hear me, and no one's asking any questions. That means you know how to do these things.
I have one question for you.
Go ahead.
It was 13.5 midway between 13 and 14. Why did you choose 14 to go to the data point at 14?
Oh, because 13.5 is between 13 and 14. It's what two numbers is. So I calculate this n plus 1 over 2, and I say, what is the number underneath that number and on top of it? By the way, anytime you do n plus 1 over 2, you're always going to get a, you either will get exactly a number, like we did in the first one when we had an odd number of data points, or you're going to get 0.5. So 13.5 is more than 13 and it's less than 14. So we're in between the two.
Okay, got it.
And another thing I want to say, you made me think of another thing to say. So here was the 13th data point, here was the 14th data point, but it's always halfway between them. But now I actually use the values. So for example, if this were 54, but then it jumped up to 60, I would average the two numbers and use it here. Okay, so I would average the two numbers and use them there. Okay, that's good. Now I am going to talk one more time about, there's one more measure of center. And by the way, sometimes I'm going to do things that are beyond the videos, and sometimes I'm going to make my own videos and stuff like that. But I'm putting these over here because we're going to find one more measure of center. And the last measure of center that we're going to talk about in this class is called the mode. The mode is another measure of center. The mode is the most frequently occurring, I think I spelled that wrong, but don't worry about that, data point. There can be multiple modes or no mode. And the mode can also be used with qualitative data. Okay. Now, qualitative means it's not a number. So for example, I could ask David, and David, I'm not asking you to do this, but I could. Let's suppose that we were in session at COD, and I could give you a clipboard, paper, and a pencil, and I could tell you to go out and survey parking lot B1 and come back and report to me the make of every car in the parking lot. And you could go out there and do that. Now, I'm not asking you to do that. You might think, oh, that would be a horrible task, but you could go out there and you could do that. But then when you come in, I could ask you a question. I could say, what is the mode for the make of cars out there? And you might say, well, Jim, there were more Chevrolets than anything else. So you see, that's giving you a sense of center, and it can be used with qualitative data. Now here we have quantitative data, and I'm going to change this. I don't need that yellow color anymore there. So I'm going to get rid of that color. Okay, but now I have my data. Now I've already sorted this, and it is important that the data kind of be sorted, because otherwise you're trying to say, well, are there anything that matches? So I'm just going to run my finger down here, and I'm going to be looking for places where data points are repeated. Okay, and you could start at the bottom or you could start at the top. But you see, I'm going along here, and I see that there are 2 69s. And again, you don't have to color code them, but I am color coding them just so you can see what's happening. And I was trying to color code the 69s and it wasn't taking. So let's go there. That's good. Okay, so there's 2 of those, and there's 2 87s. And there's 2, no, there's not. So there's 87. There's 69, there's 68 and 66. So these are all modes. And see, the most frequently occurring number are those. So there are multiple modes. So if I were talking about the modes for test 1, I would assert that the modes are 87, 87, Jim, 87, comma, 69, comma, 68 and 66. 68, comma, and 66. Okay, so that would be the modes that I found, okay? And then I also could find the modes over here as well. Now, so I'm just, and again, these are already sorted, and I'm trying to see if I have any things that are repeated multiple times. And it looks to me like I'm just starting up here and going down. 71 is repeated twice. So that's a contender. 57 is repeated twice. So this has more than one mode. Keep going on. I see that 46 is repeated twice. And we go on, and that's it. So this is going to be 46, 57, and 71. "46, 57, and 71. Okay, so there's three measures of center, mean, median, and mode. And you want to know which one is better and why. And that's one of the reasons that you want to watch the video, because it's sometimes an essay question that I ask, because there's different things about these measures of center. Now, the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do and I think we have time for this, and I'm going to do it twice. We're going to find the 5-number summary. And David, the reason I'm talking to you right now, I'm talking to everybody, but the reason I'm addressing you is because when I go to put that LSA there, you're finding the 5-number summary, okay? But I also ask you to do a box plot. So I'm going to make sure that you can do it, and I might adjust the due date if because I can do anything I want. It's my plane. I'm flying this plane. I'm in charge. So I may adjust the due date if I need to. But now what we're going to do is we're going to do box plots on these, okay? And so this is some more, and this is a little bit of lecture, but here's what it is. The 5-number summary is the min, max, the median, the first quartile. There's a video on this, so if you watch the video, you know all this stuff, and the third quartile. If you count how many things I put there, there are 5. So min, max, medium, first quartile, and third quartile. Now, actually, we have a whole bunch of these things. Since we sorted these, we know that this 35 down here is the minimum, isn't it? Because I sorted it. So this is the min. And since I sorted it, I know that the 97 is the max. And one of those things, so you see, so I got 3 of them already, and the other one is the median. And the median is also known as the second quartile. That's another name for it. Okay, so you see we found 3 of them. So now all we have to do is find the 75th percentile, or the third quartile, and the first quartile. Now here's what you do. You take all the numbers that are above the median, all the numbers that are above the median, and you find the median of them. Okay. Now here, then, how many numbers are above the median?
12.
Yeah. So what we have is there are 12. And by the way, you could have just counted them if you wanted to, but that was above the median. So 12 are above the median. again, I said we were finding the median of those numbers. So we again use the formula n plus 1 over 2. So this is going to be 12 plus 1. That should be in parentheses. I will be so glad to be in a well-lit classroom again and stuff. But this is going to be 12 plus 1, and it is over 2. Okay, so, and then I will, and I just typed it in here, but now I'm using a formula. And now I'm letting Excel actually calculate this. So this is going to be equal to, and I only need one equal, and I'm just going to, let's see. That's not going to work. I'm going to put an equal sign here in front of this. I was trying to do that in a cute way. I'm giving up being cute. It's just going to be 12 plus 1 over 2. I actually can do that in my head. That's 6.5, but this is 6.5. So now what I'm going to do is, and I can either count up or down, but I count, and going back, and I don't remember who asked this question, but somebody asked why was it half. The number that's underneath this is 6, and the one that's above it is 7. So we're going to count 6. So I'm counting here. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, Jim. Here we go. Okay, so that is 1. Here we go. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So you see, those are the two. It's between. And if I take the average of those two numbers, I get 88.5. So that is 88.5. And I'm going to color that yellow because that is my third quartile, because 75% of the numbers are underneath it and 25% are below. The median is the 50th percentile, or the second quartile, because half the numbers are above and half the numbers are below. This is going to be the 25th percentile, or the first quartile. And what I do is I do the same formula again. So it's 6.5, isn't it? You see, there were 12 above and 12 below. So now I will count these again, and so when I count these, what I will get is, I'm counting from the bottom, and I wanted to do 6.5. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now this time, notice that 66 and 68. So that means the median here is going to be, and it's not one of our data points, but it is 67 because it's the average of those two. And so I will just make, and that was supposed to be 67. I'm going to put it over here, 67. I'm just going to erase this because that's nonsense. And now what we have done is we have found the 5-number summary. So the 5-number summary for test 1 was, the min was 25, the first quartile was 67, the median or second quartile is 80, the third quartile is 88.5, and the max quartile is, or the maximum is 97. That's the 5-number summary, and we make box plots with this if we do a graph. Now, what I'm going to do, and I have enough time to do this because I know what time it is, I'm going to find this one, but I'm going to find this faster. Now, please pay attention because it makes a difference if it's even or odd. What happened was, it was one of my data points. In test 2, it's not one of my data points. So I am taking everything above the median, and let's see how many I've got. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13. 13 plus 1 is 14, by 2 is 7. So I go 7 up from here, but I start here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you see what I have is 63 is the third quartile. 85 is the max. 35 is the min. And let's see, so 35 is the min, and let's see, what else do I need to do? Oh, and down here, and I said that it was 7 again, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's 46, and it is important that it's this 46, not the other one, but it's still 46 because that should have been 7. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I guess maybe it was the other one. Hold on. It's the bottom 46. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I screwed that up.
I think the top one too. It's supposed to be 61, I think. Would that be the third quartile?
Did I count? Well, it's the third quartile, but all right. So I should have counted up 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, you're right. I'm not. Yeah, shout out when you see that right away. Okay, just because I don't want people to be screwed up. Okay, but now we find those, and so that is pretty good. Okay, so we had 61. So the 5 number summary here is 35, 46, 54, 61, and 85. Now I am going to maybe do something because I might want to do a box and whisker plot. So I could say insert. And by the way, I am fortunate that I am in 365 because I can do a box plot now of this data. So I'm going to do a box plot of, actually I'm going to do a box plot of both of these, okay? And here's the box plots down here. There's the box plots. Those are called box and whisker plots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and by the way, I think this is going to work. I haven't checked this out, but I think it's going to work. Wow. I'm going to delete this column that's in between because I don't want to have that. And I know what time it is, but we're going to be finished very soon. So just hang in here with me. I'm going to delete that column because that's in the way. Okay. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two data entries, and I'm going to insert a chart here. And I think when I'm finished with this, you actually have made them all. And there we have what's called a box plot. Now notice the box plot has a bunch of numbers, and again, there's a video about this, but the box plot has a bunch of numbers, and what you have is the minimum, you have the maximum, and this is marking the quartiles. And this part in here is called the interquartile range because 50% of the data is in between those two values. So I think, everybody, that you're going to be able to do the low stakes assessment that I assigned based on the things we did today and also watching the videos. So what I'm going to do is probably assign you more videos to look at, and we'll do some more work next time. And I am sometime pretty soon, David and everybody else, going to make sure that that low stakes assessment is there. Okay?
Okay, cool.
Are we okay? And I'm going to kind of poll you guys just to check to make sure you're okay. And you know when my office hours are. You're welcome to come to those. Amara, you okay?
I am okay. I have one question though.
Go ahead.
So when you're counting the 7 for test 2, for the median, are you counting from your 54, like you skip 54 and then count 7 up, or are you counting from 55?
I start at 54.5.
Okay.
Because that was what the median was. And
Okay.
you're right, that's a little bit of a tricky thing, but that's what you do.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so let's see. So that was Amara. Martina, you okay? I'm not sure if she's still here, but maybe she's saying.
I'm good.
Okay, she's good. Yes. Julissa, you okay?
I'm good.
Great. David, you good?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm confused about what's the first and the third quartile.
Well, what I would suggest, and again, I'm not trying to be mean with that,
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest watch the video again, maybe even. They're short videos. Watch it again. And if you still have that question, let's ask it next time. Okay.
Cool. Okay.
And, or you can come to my office hours and do that. But I mean, I think we'll get an answer there. And I'm skipping Sydney because I don't think she's here. But I am going to go out and find out, what's going on with her because I miss her. I miss you all, I guess, if you're not here. Atlanta, is she doing okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. We're adjourned, folks, for now.
Okay.
Take care.
Very cool.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Jim, are you still here?
Oh, I am. Yes. I didn't mean to be shutting you out. I am still here. What's up?
This is Atlantis. I will not be on with you guys Monday or Wednesday of next week. I just wanted you to know so you don't look for me.
Okay. All right.
Try
I will.
Wednesday.
Okay.
Wednesday, I know for sure I won't. But Monday, I will try my best to engage into the class, if I can. But if I can't, then I just won't be on.
Okay.
And I'll go through the video and watch what you're saying.
All right. Excellent. That all works. Okay. And thank you for telling me that was a nice courtesy. Okay. So thank you.
No, thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate you.
All right. Bye-bye.